Hello and welcome back. Now these last couple days I have been playing all of the tier 3, tier 2 and tier 4 ships. Pretty much I did play most of the low tier ships and have to say, two ships do stand out from the crowd. It is the tier 4 Talwar, pretty much the Talwar trainer, and the tier 3 frigate Kestrel. Those two ships do perform really good for their price and they do perform really good for their tier. Now, the Talwar trainer was very strong in the first beta and was really powerful in the last beta. Now, as when I compare the Talwar now and when I compare the Talwar in the last beta, the ship got a little bit weaker, and currently this ship is a little bit more weaker than the ordinary Talwar, which is okay, since this is after all a trainer version and they are supposed to be weaker than their original counterparts. But still, this ship does offer very decent performance and it is very good. Now, for the weapons, I do use the Mark III small missiles, pretty much a budget build and a budget fit for this ship, and pretty much both alphas and omegas can use it. But of course, most of the performance will also come out from the actual module itself, since I do plan to get Mark 5, Mark 7 and of course faction gear into the future. And of course I am a Omega clone currently, so I will also test this out as a fully fledged Omega with maxed out skills, which will be very interesting to see. And of course the ordinary low slots. Now I would change the medium slot into a Webifer or into a Warp Disruptor, but currently, since I don't have either of those, I will have a Nosferatu just to be safe against any fast moving targets that do eventually, or well, just to be careful around those frigates that are flying around in case they go too close. Well, as for anomalies, I did fly tier 3, tier 4 and tier 5 anomalies, and I have to say tier 3s and tier 4s are very easy with this ship, with the Talwar trainer. And have to say, compared to the other trainers, this Talwar trainer is the best of the all trainer ships, at least in my opinion. And currently, all of that is based on me flying all of these different ships. And this ship just performed a lot better than their other trainer counterparts, which is very interesting. And missiles are still dominant. Pretty much missiles are still one of the best PvE and PvP weapons. I'd say the missiles are better for PvE than for PvP, since they do have a long loading cycle, 12 seconds on these missiles on this ship. And for PvP, that might be a long reload. So for PvP, I'd say railguns, artillery, autocannons, they will do very good. And of course, the decomposers, they are going to be very powerful, and I can't wait to actually test out the decomposers when I get my hands on them, which I hope that will happen very soon. And this ship did surprise me though, even though it was nerfed from the previous two betas, it is still performing almost the same as when I had it in the last open beta. And that did surprise me, since I did expect this ship to be a lot weaker, since they did promise that they will nerf the trainers to be more balanced compared to the ordinary ships of the same tier and of course of the same type. Now of course you do have some benefits from flying these trainers. You can repair the ship if it ever gets destroyed, so you don't have to worry much about getting destroyed if you have these vouchers, of course. And if you run out of these vouchers, then you pretty much will have to buy a new ship. So again, in the end, you have to be careful, because even if you lose your ship, in some cases, if you don't have these vouchers, you cannot restore it. So the same principle applies to this ship as well as any other ship, and that is, don't fly ships you can't afford to lose. That's pretty much a saying that is applied to all ships in the game, including the trainers, since eventually if you keep on losing the same ship and if you keep on using the vouchers to repair it, eventually you are going to run out of vouchers, since they are a limited thing and you're not going to get them after you run out of them. Well, currently I am in a tier 4 anomaly. I did manage to find a chill system for myself where I will not be disturbed by other players. And compared to the other systems, this system where I'm at is this system is actually very chill compared to the other systems. Other systems have around 20, 30 to 50 players average. This system has an average of 10 players at its peak, so that is pretty calm here. Everything is pretty calm here, and I can relax and pretty much do these anomalies without being interrupted, which of course isn't the case always, as you will see later on when I fly the Kestrel. The Kestrel was very efficient at PvP, and I did like how the ship performed. And I think I did do PvP, but I did not kill any player because of I don't have a warp disruptor. And of course, my primary goal was just to test out the weapon's performance on the Kestrel. And of course, the Kestrel did show to be very efficient and very good in both PvP, PvE, and other content, of course. With the Talwar, I did have couple confrontations with other players, and mostly it was them jumping into my anomaly, and of course I had to defend myself against them. So that was one of the consequences of the game currently being overpopulated and the systems being overflooded with players. It is a very high chance that someone will eventually warp in your anomaly, and well, besides them wanting to take the anomaly for themselves, they also want to take your loot down with them. So if you see someone jumping in your system, a new player, or if you see someone jumping in your anomaly, be always prepared to fight them, because in a lot of cases they are coming to shoot you down, because currently that's what everyone is doing, so it's alright, I guess. Let's see now. I'm also in the process of getting to a different system. Pretty much, I'm aiming for a lower sec system, and of course, I am aiming for null sec. And hopefully, over there, I will have a system for myself and all anomalies for myself. Now, of course, with the current overpopulation that we have in the game, that might be difficult. So I have to prepare myself to. So I have to defend myself over there probably as well. Okay, sorry for the weird cut. My recorder died, I don't know why. So, I was attacked a lot in these low sec systems, and that's partially due to the game being currently overpopulated, and it was very hard for me to find a safe system for myself to pretty much farm. But thankfully, I did manage to find this system, and of course, I did manage to farm a decent amount of risk here, since I did buy a lot of these other trainers. I did buy most of the tier 3 frigates, and of course I did buy a lot of equipment for them to pretty much test them out, to see how they work, how they perform. And well, like I did mention on the start of the video, the Kestrel and the Talwar are both, I think, the best low tier ships in the game by performance. Now, of course, the higher tier ships will be also very interesting. I also can't wait to play the assault frigates and the cover-tops frigates. Those two are one of my favorites, and I did see the cover-tops cruisers in the game, which do appear to be very interesting, mostly because I do plan to use them for various purposes, ranging from PvP to PvE, but mostly I will use them for these anomalies and for the Inquisitor and Scout sites, which I think will be very, very interesting to see how will they perform in those situations. But well, I personally can't wait to fly those ships, and I will be working hard to get those ships very fast. But currently, I am satisfied with tier 3, tier 4 and tier 5 anomalies. Now I have to say, I did see a lot of the scout anomalies and a lot of the inquisitors. Now I'm not sure if people are doing them or if people are skipping them, but they might as well change the spawn cycles of these anomalies, since I remember in the last beta finding a Inquisitor or Scout anomaly was very difficult, and it was deemed lucky if you find one. But now I do see them very often in all these various systems that I am traveling to, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. I pretty much think that is a good thing, and who knows, things might change. They might change the rarity of these anomalies. since that might as well affect the price of the data cores, and that might affect the price of the other items that you can find in these Scout and Inquisitor sites. Mostly in these Inquisitor and Scout sites you can find blueprints of ships, of modules, you can find faction equipment, you can find all of these different very interesting items that are valuable. And of course, the higher the tier of the anomaly, the higher the difficulty will be, and of course the higher the reward. And the high difficulty, high reward thing is something that I do like, and it does feel a lot like EVE Online in that aspect. But well, currently I am in the tier 4 and tier 5 segment of these anomalies, and as soon as I get a tier 5 cruiser, I am pretty much moving to the low sec, to the deeper low sec, and of course to null sec, and then I hope to find a system that I can stay in and that I can farm all day long without being disturbed, which will be a little bit difficult currently, mostly because of the current population in the game. The game does have, I think, over 1 million active players on a daily basis. I know that they did hit 5 million downloads, but the servers can handle only 200,000 players currently, and that pretty much makes me that makes me suspicious on the actual number of players who play, since I think that the number is in the at least 1 million, I'd say, because in some cases all systems have at least 50 or 60 players average, and in some systems I do see 200, 300. Well, let's see. Now I'm flying the Kestrel here and pretty much trying to test out my weapons, and I don't have a warp disruptor, and I don't have any webifer at the moment, which I do plan on getting, as I do plan to get them pretty much when I have the east for it, or pretty much if I stumble upon a couple of them in these anomalies. And I have to say, the Kestrel as a frigate tier 3 is currently, I think, the best tier 3 frigate, because this ship does offer very good offensive capabilities, and this ship does offer very good speed, very good maneuverability, and it does have a very good range, which is needed for the vast majority of missions and anomalies, since this way you can avoid enemy fire, and of course you can survive for longer. Now I did have to equip this shield booster for the tier 5 anomalies, since the cruisers still managed to track me. So for the tier 5 anomalies, if you're using the Kestrel, you definitely want to have very high grade weapons and of course high grade equipment, at least tier 5, or should I say Mark 5, to make this ship competitive against those tier 5 anomalies and of course those cruisers, since they do track very accurately, and they are very accurate itself, so you have to be very careful around those in the tier 5 anomalies. But tier 3, tier 4 anomalies are pretty much easy, and you should not have any problems clearing those. This was a very interesting video to make, since this is, I think, one of the first videos where I actually did not kill any player in the PvP segment of it, which is interesting, since I used to do a lot of PvP in the 2 open betas, and I do have over 1,000 kills with my Talwar, I think, combined in both of the last betas, which is actually a lot, and that ship did prove itself to be very powerful in that aspect, and I do respect the Talwar a lot. It is a very powerful ship. Well then, in the next part I'll be pretty much continuing to do these anomalies, and of course I'll be venturing deeper into low sec and probably venturing deeper into the null sec segment. Of course, if I get a cruiser, I will do that, and I'll definitely test out these ships in various scenarios, and of course I'll test out more ships, since eventually I do want to try out most of the ships in the game, since, well, I do enjoy playing most of the ships. Each ship has their own unique bonus, and each ship has their unique playstyle, which I do want to explore, and I do want to explain that to everyone. Well then, with that being said, I hope you enjoyed. It was a pleasure to play this game for you. And well, stay tuned for the next part. Stay safe, fly safe, and I'll see you next time. Take care.